Moving on to our last session is Merethe Stave. She is also from Norway, Office Apps and Services MVP. Is going to talk about hybrid and hybrid work. Take it away, Merethe.
Thank you, Ståle. It's a pleasure to be here. And welcome. Welcome and good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you might be when you're listening or seeing this session. Yes, we're going to talk about how to drive successful collaboration for the hybrid work. And before that, I'm going to share something, maybe a personal story. Many years back, I moved to a different country in a completely different part of the world. And I was going to be a stay-at-home mom for that period of time, and I got a garden. And everybody around me, they said, "Oh, Merethe, you need to get a gardener." I said, come on. I've been grown up on a farm. I will have plenty of time. I know how to water and fix the garden. So I said, okay. So I kept doing it and kept watering it. What I didn't think about is that I didn't know what kind of fertilizers I would need for this garden. Neither did I even know where to buy that fertilizer. And after a while, it became browner and browner, and if I didn't do anything, it would probably end up like this. But thankfully, I found some good gardener, and my garden started to thrive again. And it goes a little bit of the same, because we are all familiar with our digital tools, and we have now, during this pandemic, we have figured out how to run meetings in Teams, right? So we got good control, right? We're using Teams, right? However, what are we aiming to do when we are walking into this new world that we are going to work together? Some people might be used to or maybe expect to work more from home. And we are all looking forward to meet each other in the offices again. Still, we have changed. Our office might have changed while we were away. Maybe we have different policies, different ways. So how are we now going to work and actually make our businesses thrive, our people and our employees, our customers, everyone thrive in this new digital garden, if you would like to say that? And we need to have a structure. We need to have a structure for how can people get the right information at the right time. And not least, that they find their information that they need and don't have to spend, or should I say, waste half a day looking for that information. It's kind of all over the place because you got some file server here and you got some stuff. You need to bring it into one place where people can find it. And we are moving into that, maybe that one place in different ways. So let's talk about onions, right? We got some onions. Onions have layers. We have layers, right? And the same goes for the way we are working and collaborating and communicating, also have layers. Or perhaps we can talk about MoCA, which is Microsoft Modern Collaboration Architecture. MoCA. You know, when I'm in the garden, I really love to have a cup of coffee. And especially with MoCA, because it's even tastier. But that's a little bit of a sidetrack. Sorry about that. Let us bring back to the collaboration architecture. What is meeting us in this everyday life now that we are maybe even before the pandemic, we started to try some of these apps and tools that we find in the Microsoft 365 platform. Some are familiar with, some are new to us. And what maybe many people have discovered is that some of these apps can do more or less the same thing. So how am I supposed to know which one to use when? And let me bring you back a little bit of history here, because all of these tools is not something that was discovered now or even last year. Like SharePoint has been here since 2003, and we had new SharePoint in 2007, 2010, 2013. And Outlook we had for like many years. But what is the big change now is that, for instance, with Teams coming on board and all of these other tools, there's a huge shift. Because it can't work as we've done before. Because if you used our only communicate in email and only use our file share for our document handling, there's so much more that we need to keep track of now. And many of these tools, they work really well together, but used in different kind of contexts. So let's move forward and have a look of these onions of us, all these different tools that we got. So what Microsoft did when they saw that people are getting confused to which tools they should use for what, and when should they use them, and why should they use them, they created what we call the MoCA, the Modern Collaboration Architecture, because it will help to guide people to find their way and understand which tools to use when. So it's like a piece of onion with many layers. And one important part here that we need to ask ourselves is, what do we want to use the apps for? Because what I see time and time again, when I'm out there and people ask me to make a guide, they say, make a guide on how to use OneNote, make a guide on how I can use Teams. So it's all about the technology and the tools. But let's turn this around and see, what is it that you want the tools to do? What problems or what wishes is that you wanted to solve? And what business needs, for instance, are they supposed to solve? Or are they catering to? And the technology can't give you that answer, because that is you to define. So for instance, if I want to use yellow onion, there we go, sorry, wrong click. If I want to use yellow onion to make a soup, or maybe I want to use the red onion to make a dessert, or I maybe want to use the Charlotte onion, Charlotte onion, to color my eggs. There is different kinds of onions that I can use, right? And the same goes for tools. For instance, if I'm going to work with documents, because a lot of us still work with a lot of documents, right? So where am I going to do that work? Can I use SharePoint? Can I use Teams? Can I use OneDrive? I said, yes, you can use them all. And not only that, where am I going to work with my tasks? Because I have things to do during the day. So where am I doing that? Should I use Planner? Should I use SharePoint List? They are really good. Or should I use To Do? Yes, you can do all of them. Now, before we even have a closer look on when I should use which of this, now we were talking about this garden, right? So before we are running head over heels into all of these different tools and how we can use them and when we can use them, we need to decide on some stuff. First of all, am I making a garden where I'm inviting my friends for a dinner and we have a good time together? Or am I making a botanical garden where everyone in the city or every visitor in the city can come and visit? There's a big difference in how we're going to plan the garden, right? And the same goes for our solutions. How are we working together? Who should have access to this information? Who is contributing to that information? It depends on what you want to use it for. And maybe one other important question is, who will use our garden and for what? Am I going to grow vegetables? Am I making a flower shop, perhaps? So I need flowers. I need to grow some more flowers. Or am I taking care of the bees? Maybe I'm going to do all of that. And perhaps one of the most important questions that many times kind of blows by the wind is, who owns it? Is it the group or the project that decided we're going to implement Microsoft 365? Or is it the board? Or is it the company who decided it? Or could it perhaps be the gardener who decides, who owns the garden? Could be, because it depends what kind of garden we are making, right? And my key takeaway here is to start with the ownership, because also, if I'm making a big garden, maybe a botanical garden, there could be different owners in that huge garden, right? So then I need to define who are the owners and what part of the garden are they owning. Because maybe the herb section is owned by somebody, but the big tree section is for a different group. And these need to work together to make a harmonic garden, right? So start with the ownership and make sure you have an overview of the responsibilities and the ownership. And don't forget IT support. What happens sometimes is that somebody has decided to implement a new solution, and the project goes well, and it's launched, and everybody is happy. Maybe not, because some of them are contacting IT support, and I didn't even hear about it. And that's not quite fair to the IT support, because they are the ones who are getting contacted by the employees in the company. And by involving IT support from the get-go, from the day you decide to implement a new solution, by involving IT support, first of all, you are prepping them for what is coming. So they are prepared when somebody is asking a question, as well as you can get good feedback and reports from IT support that can tell you, these are we received 10 questions about something, and then you can see in your project, maybe we need to change our communication. Maybe we need to make some guides on this thing so people will know what to do. It's a win-win-win for all of us if you involved the important stakeholders, especially IT support. You're the heroes out there. All right. And build one piece at a time, because people are busy. People have their regular work to do. And now all of a sudden you come and bring something else on top of their head when they're busy with other things. You have to take this gradually. And by that, I mean, don't only start with OneDrive. Because I see that so many times, it's too much for our employees. They can't do all of these new apps and tools. Yes, it starts with one thing, but don't only start with OneDrive. Because OneDrive is your personal repository for documents. So if you have business critical information, it shouldn't stay on OneDrive. Maybe you need it for an ad hoc as you're waiting for maybe a project to start or for a temporary solution. But as soon as it's part of a project or a business process, you should move it into where it should live, and you can share it with those in your team, right? But when we say start with one thing, start with a pilot. Start with a small group of people, maybe within the project or a different department, where you try out these tools. And then you will still need to test a little bit more, so you can widen that circle and add some more people into that group that can get some experiences, and it will be a maturity journey where they're learning about these tools and how they can work together. And during the first and second pilot, you will get some good practice, and you will get some good success stories that you can share as examples with the rest of the organization when you decide to implement it throughout the company, or maybe even throughout companies, right? So now our garden is thriving. And so, what is that file share doing there? Because we have a lot of old stuff that we're taking care of. And I really recommend don't take care of everything, because you have a lot of content and data and information in your different repositories already. And now you're adding Teams and all the other tools in Microsoft 365. And people are starting creating Teams and SharePoint sites and SharePoint sites and SharePoint sites. You will have a lot. So you need to build a certain structure and also get rid of some stuff, please, for your sake. It's really important. Make a plan. Look at what these new tools that you are bringing into your company, what are they replacing and why? But that doesn't mean that you need to get rid of everything in one go. Make a plan. What is these different tools you're implementing now going to replace? And why are you replacing them? And make a plan for it and communicate that to your team and your employees, why you are replacing them and how and when it's going to happen. And not the least, what is expected from them to make that change. So back to our onions. Now we're moving into the mocha, and not the coffee, by the way. Now we're moving into the modern collaboration architecture. And first of all, it's called the individual productivity. So when I'm working on my own, let's say Ståle and Sandy, my colleagues and I, we have an idea. We really want to make this a project. So what I'll do, I maybe share a document from my OneDrive. Maybe I use a private chat to just start discussing this. Or maybe we have a Teams for a project and portfolio where we're using the private channel for this project, because it's a little bit shush so far. We're not going to share it with the rest yet, but we're thinking about this. Right? We're building up a business case. So we use a private channel or a shared channel if it is within the same group that we can share it with, right? And then I use my to-do list for my little things I need to remember. And then maybe I use Outlook to book some meetings, or I can use that Teams to do that too. And then I have my own digital notebook. That is my personal one. So it's my notes that I add into this notebook. And I'm not sharing that notebook yet. But as we now got that project approved, yay, lo and behold, we got a project approved. What do? We go into what we call team productivity. This is when we as a group, we work together. So what I'll do is those notes that I made in my personal OneNote regarding this project, I will move them or copy them over to the project shared notebook that lives in our project team. Because in that project team, I'll make some channels that are related to this project. And we add, of course, in the SharePoint site, we move all the documents that I now have shared in my OneDrive over to the project SharePoint. And then we set up a planner. And then and the planner we use for the project tasks and activities. And whenever I have been assigned a task in Planner, it will show up in my to-do, which is kind of magic, right? And then we start using these tools that are related to the project. All right. And of course, to improve this even further, I can, for instance, create a SharePoint list where I see all the high-level deliveries that we are going to do and the main activities below these deliveries. And then when somebody is responsible for a main delivery activity, a task is automatically created in Planner. And to do that, I can use Power Automate, right? To make that flow happens automatically. And then when it's completed in Planner, it can be updated in that SharePoint list. Because the SharePoint list is good to see the big picture and the different deliveries, so you can use it for reporting and even connect that to Power BI as the everyday activities and actions going on in the project happens in Planner, which I, as a member of the project, can find in my to-do. So that these different tools can play very well together when we are working in a project team, for instance. And that could also be for a department, or it could be for an expert community. Still, if I have an expert community, I might need a bigger team where more people have access to. So I can still use Teams. I can still use the same kind of tool as I would use in a small team, but then in a different way again. And then we go over to, let's say we run this project for a period of time. And now we want to let other people in the organization learn what we are doing. Maybe you have some standard presentations, and maybe people are getting curious, what are these guys up to now? So then we create a team for ourselves, or where we maybe inform the rest of the organization, or maybe we create a Yammer group, depending on the size of my organization. For a smaller organization, it could be good enough to use the Teams for the corporate information, or we can use Yammer. And then we use the SharePoint online communication site, where we add some videos, some presentations and information, and a high-level timeline for our project. And all in all, so that is the different ways, and these can help you to find the way that you can organize and understand which tools to use in which context. And in the end, what are we doing every day? We are making business. We are serving our customers. I'm serving you. We are serving each other's customers all the time. And in the end, we help each other making a better world for everyone. All right. Here we go.
Thank you very much. Merethe.
You're very welcome. Let me put the onion back. Yeah.
So, I think we are almost at the end of our crossword. And skipping past some of these slides,
Yeah.
we should get to our crossword.
Soon. Yeah.
So, oi,
It's good too fast.
oi, what? It's live. So, what's your word?
Hybrid.
Hybrid, and why
Yes.
is that?
Hybrid is a word that we hear a lot these days, and maybe it's come like a trend word. And I think we should all define what hybrid means to us and our company. Make it your own, and make your plan, and make your own roadmap into this.
Perfect.
Right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.